Hopefully you're going to remember something you said on Saturday.
I am?
I hope so. You said faith is force.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, we can speak about that.
Yay.
It's a force of, you can't, you can't see it. You see its effects through what it manifests. Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
hmm
You can't see faith, but it's a force, just like gravity and stuff. More so, really. So, but we'll get into it. Yeah,
All
good.
right, cool. Hopefully the readings will give you something to get started on. Let me get this. All right, let's get rolling. Let me change the security. And I think everybody's muted. Thank you, whoever did that. All right, everybody. Man, happy Thursday. Welcome to Reflections with Paul. Paul H. We're gonna listen to him talk about his reflections specifically on the exact nature of the wrong. We find that in on page 64 in the big book. This is not an AA meeting. We are being recorded. We're being streamed live on Facebook. Let's see, what else do we have this morning? If you want to learn more about Paul, please visit his killer website, zenbitchslap.com. You can find his book, which tells his story about recovery. You can watch past videos. You can look at his books, his store, get yourself a cool t-shirt. And there's also, well, just explore the page. So this is a question and answer format. And so after Paul talks on today's reading, you are free to raise your hand and ask Paul a question about what he's discussing today. Or if you have any questions on any of the 12 steps of recovery, please raise your hand and come in with it. So Paul, let's take a little baby tour through the book today. I got a couple of readings. Let's start on page 16. There's just one sentence. Most of us feel we look no further for utopia. We have it right here and with us right here and now. And then turning to page 25, there is a solution. Almost none of us like the self-searching, the leveling of our pride, the confession of shortcomings, which the process requires for its successful consummation. But we saw that it really worked in others, and we had come to believe in the hopelessness and futility of life as we had been living it. When, therefore, we were approached by those in whom the problem had been solved, there was nothing left for us to do but to pick up the simple kit of spiritual tools laid at our feet. We have found much of heaven, and we have been rocketed into a fourth dimension of existence, of which we had not even dreamed. And then we're going to move to page 100. When we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Follow the dictates of a higher power, and you will presently live in a new and wonderful world, no matter what your present circumstances.
Yeah. Hopefully, when it's read, well, Paul Alcoholic, nice to see everybody. Hopefully, when it's read, you have an accompanying feeling and a sense of some weight in the message. Yeah. Hopefully, from your own experience of being sober. The last one, when we look back, we realize that the things we came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. So let's say my first looking back was after 8 weeks of sobriety. And then I saw that I hadn't drank in 8 weeks and things out externally had gotten better. Yeah. To me, that's the observation of the second step. I see the second step as an observation because it's an observation that is after the events. So we came to believe, so it's already been done. We came to believe that a power greater than us could restore us to sanity because we've had the experience of that. Yeah, that to me is the second step. It can be anything you want, but that's how I view the second step, as an observational step of the workings of the higher power through the program. That was one of the first declarations of it when I was in the beginning of sobriety. Yeah, could have been between 4 or 8 weeks, but I had my circumstances had changed. I had bluffed my way into a job. I hadn't drank in 8 weeks. I was feeling unbelievably much better about myself. So the policeman thief condition was elevated. There were some minor misdemeanors going on, but no homicidal events. So the policeman was easing up, and the thief was feeling a little better about itself. So it was, there was a break given, and things just got better from that point for 30 something years, really. I got really nothing to complain about. The habit of being sober, let's say if you had volition about breathing, the habit of breathing would be an incredibly important habit to be in. Well, very close to that is the habit of being sober for me. Yeah? It's almost up on that level of breathing. Because, first of all, I would never have even gotten close to being here now at this point in time if I was still out there. There wasn't going to be a long-term edition of Paul as an addict. Yeah, it was going to end some way. So, how does that habit of sobriety get established? Well, showing up to the program, taking the suggestions that are offered, that are defined from the book. Those suggestions, after you take them for a while consistently, they turn into habits. Yeah, the habits concerning your sobriety have weakened the mental state's opinion in there. You're just going to meetings. You're not thinking about going to meetings. You're thinking about which one. So you're in the habit of doing what works finally. Yeah, so that the working can continue uninterrupted. So no matter how fucked you think you are or not, if you're sober, the underlying basis, I've been sober for almost 33 years. That's the underlying basis. That's a fact. I've been sober for 33 years. Now, there's a lot of movements, if you want to just define them as up and down or contracting, expanding, or whatever. But basically, they all were brought into a much different meaning from the basis of my life, which was sobriety. Yeah, I saw things in a whole new light, consistently. So, yeah, so I find that to be the basic description of my life in sobriety. Yeah. When I put myself into these hands of this program, into the higher power, was better than anything we could have planned. Yeah, that's been my experience. Yeah, so why not allow it to continue? Yeah, I don't think it has to come up every year for a debate or a new vote. Yeah, I knew I was screwed, and I was convinced of that on so many levels that it's never really come up for debate. Yeah, it just became a fact of my life that I'm not managerial quality, that the GPS I was prone to listen to was a failed system. That's why it says in the book, there's so many clear diagnoses of the dilemma, which is, one of them is, why are we in so much fear today? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed us? Yeah. So it's because a lot of people are in fear and nothing fearful has happened yet. Yeah. So their day is of fear. Maybe there'll be less fear, so they call it a good day, or more fear or more anxiety, they call it a bad day. But basically, when they wake up, the possibility of being in fear wakes up. Yeah. And it becomes a daily struggle. And basically, it's not the absence of fear or the outgrowing of fear. We just have different judgments on different levels. Yeah. So if I'm not totally flipped out, that's bearable. But is it really? Isn't that a form of slavery?
Mhm.
So, and why is it that we can't outgrow fear? Because we're relying on self, knowing it or not. Yeah, we may be relying on sober Paul, but Paul, the idea of Paul is of self. Yeah. So there's still a reliance on self. And that reliance on self is unreliable, though so there's an atmosphere or an underlying condition of anxiety that usually will override a lot of okayness being demonstrated through my day. Yeah? So basically, the fear of I was fucked or I'm gonna be screwed overrides the okayness that may be happening at like 11 o'clock in Northern California. Yeah? So I can't seem to respond to like, oh, I'm wearing comfortable diapers on, let's say. I got a nice loose fitting thing. I just ate something. I feel pretty good. Beautiful day. Yeah, I can respond to that. Yeah. But if I'm petrified of next week, and if there's faith in that petrifiedness, it overrides the response of the day. Yeah. So the day is it's like playing poker and living as if you have a losing hand every day. Even though new cards are being dealt, you read them the exact same way. You may have a full house, but you think it's fucking empty. Yeah? It's just an incredible layer of slavery. And it's really rooted in us not knowing it. Yeah? That's how it sort of gets away with the whole thing is in a cloak of not knowing, or you could see it as an image as being in the dark. Yeah? And then, all right, so if we're going to talk about faith, then I love that statement on page, I think it's 52, 53. Yeah, 53, the bottom of 53, we agnostics, where he's been going on about faith, and he finally ends it with this without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. Now, you could apply that statement to where you're standing right now. Yeah? It's not like, oh, in 1934, some guy was brought to where he stood. No one else gets brought there. No one else is standing there. No, it's right. It's applicable right now. Yeah? Yes, oh, yes, that's a distant mental idea, nice to think about, but no, he's saying without knowing it, just like in the steps, the first few steps, the requirement is being convinced. The disease's requirement is without knowing it. Yeah. It does a lot of shit and it has to have that requirement without knowing it. We don't know what's going on. Yeah. We're out to lunch, basically. Yeah. That's how it works best. We have it being convinced, which is all right, believing with certainty that so and so or what and what is a condition. Yeah. That condition flourished without us knowing it. Yeah. Do you see the role we have?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's the idea of waking up. Waking up is sort of like, all right, when I wake up, part of the waking up is I wake up to the room I'm waking up in. Yes? Yeah? I wake up and I don't think I'm in Grand Central Station. I wake up and I'm in the bedroom at 828, wherever I live. Yes? That's clear. Yeah? All right? Then, so while I'm awake, things happen today. That's clear. Yeah? Then while that's going on, there's a narrative of time that's yelping. It's like a weatherman forecasting the past and just projecting its forecast in the future. All right? We're now going to talk about tomorrow's weather 5 years ago. Yeah? And then the 5 year ago forecast gets applied to tomorrow or now. That's insane. It's insane that I can't respond to what's happening. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
Isn't that mind boggling? That I react from somewhere to what's happening. I don't respond to what's happening.
Right.
I react from somewhere to what's happening. Yeah?
The illusion. Yeah.
So I bring so much shit into it. Yeah? It clouds up. I can't even see what's going on. It's not us, it's the mental. It's called projection. Yeah? The mental state projects conditions. It tells us how we were, how we're gonna be, and how we are. Yeah? It harps on certain things endlessly. Yeah? Until they become truly rooted in our programming, which is you're basically a loser and you better just be happy with the fucking crumbs. Yeah? Yeah. Take whatever's there. Don't chirp up, because you don't got it coming. And so like this, And then we just play out this thing every day in and day out. It's a form of slavery. Yeah? But we're the slave master and we're the slave at the same time. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
The problem resides in the mind. It's talking to us as us. That's why we listen so much. Yeah? It's like a very, very incredible, like the puppy we have. It's driven food, imaginary food, real food, past food, future food. It's all on the prowl all the time. Food. It gets pissed off when it watches you eat food. It starts barking because it thinks it has it coming. It should be eating food. Yeah? The same thing with the parasite of alcoholism. It's very fundamental, but it's in its feralness, it's fucking got a cunning. Yeah? So it knows how it treats a host. It doesn't treat the host well. It's not a symbiotic relationship with the host. It's a parasitical relationship. Yeah? The host isn't going to do well and it's going to do well at the same time. One's going to do well and the other ain't going to do well. That's how it goes with a parasitical nature. Yeah? So this parasite knows the hostility it causes. Yeah? Yeah? It can't change its stripes. So it came up with a great strategy to convince the host that it's the host, so that the host can never entertain being free from it. It can only entertain being free as it. So all your hoping for possibilities is saddled by the identification with the parasite. Yeah? So freedom is not from, it's as. Yeah? So that which you're identified as is praying for freedom from self. But as self, yeah? It wants to be there to enjoy it. So, so which one is more important in a way? Looking at trusting the infinite or looking at the trusting the finite? I would say looking at trusting the finite self. Yeah, because if you're trying to have trust in the infinite as the finite self, that's more trust in the finite self.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? It's sort of like the idea of the playing God statement. If that which is playing God claims to be the reader of that statement and tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. Yeah? So that which is playing God, if it tries to quit playing God, that's playing God. Ad infinitum. It can't get out of the little conundrum. Yes or no? Yes. So self can't get out of self. So that which is playing God cannot quit playing God, because that would be a form of playing God. Yeah? That's why you can't. The system is not going to be the vehicle to leave the system in. Yeah? All of its trips that are under the category getting out of self do not get you out of self. They may for 5 minutes, or as long as the rush is there or something, but basically it actually reinforces and fortifies the system that you're hoping beyond hope to get out of. Yeah? So your own behaviors are reinforcing the system that you want to be out of. You see how incredibly insane that is? Yeah? And it makes no sense not to do anything, because then you're really screwed. So what's one to do? I don't know. Let's say, like, people would yell at, tell me for 15 minutes how screwed they were, and then you give them your advice, which is from the program. Go to a meeting, and they have no. How does that mean anything? I have no money. I have a court date. My kids. Go to a meeting. What the hell are you talking about? Because they have been enslaved to the mental logic. They can't see the solution in the working of it. But we can, because we've been under it. Yeah? So you go to A, you never get relief directly. You do the steps and then relief comes. Yeah? You help others and you help yourself. A lot of people can't see it that way. Yeah? I meet a lot of people in other venues, other spiritual venues, and they would be much better off that day if they just did some service. If they just got out of that spiritual self, they'd feel better. Yeah? So, going to the root of this on the We Agnostics, without knowing it is the condition, just like being convinced is the condition of recovery. The condition of addiction and the bondage of self is without knowing it. That's for sure. Without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by, to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. So now we don't have the eyes to see this. So they're giving us an understanding. Almost like a pair of glasses, like Chuck C said, a new pair of glasses to assist us in seeing because we were living under something without knowing it. Yeah? We can't really see it yet, but so they explain it to us. Yeah? With the hopes that it triggers an understanding, and now we start seeing it. Yeah? So, without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. For did we not believe in our own reasoning? What is that but the intellect, the narrative, the mental states, yes? He's now giving us the diagnosis. All right, Mr. Hedderman, you've been very, very ill. Obviously, you didn't know it, so sit down. And I'm going to tell you the diagnosis, all right? Without knowing it, you have been brought to this condition basically by a certain kind of faith. Yeah? For did you not believe in your own reasoning? Your head kept telling you everything was fine and it wasn't. Yeah? So there was faith in the head that was giving you false evidence. And that false evidence was appearing real. Yeah or no? You can see it that way. Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? Confidence, trust, faith. He likes to change the words. But it means the same energy, yes? The same force. So did we not have confidence in our ability to think? That's the question. See what, sit for a second and answer it. Yeah? That's what, it's not just The question mark isn't just there for a symbolic, it's meant for us to answer from where we're at, right? So did we not have confidence, our ability to think? Yeah. What was that but a sort of faith? Oh, wait a minute. I didn't see that aspect of it. Yeah, I didn't see the movement of faith in my reaction and my relationship to thought. I did not. I thought they're just mine, and obviously, if it's mine, it probably has my better interest at heart, and I'm going to listen to it. Yeah, I'm not going to listen to anyone else. I'm going to follow this, even against all the evidence that it's never really worked. I'm still abjectly going to follow it. So there's a huge amount of faith trusting the finite self, yes? So there's no self to trust, so it's the thinking and the, yes, that's what there's faith in. What was that but a sort of faith? Exactly. What kind of sort of faith? A faith of force, yeah? A faith that manifests. A faith that if it's put into something, let's say if there's faith in the thought system, it will produce anxiety. Yeah? And it will produce anxiety in a moment when there's no threat. So basically, we call it fear, but it's mental anxiety because it's being produced from imaginary conditions. Yeah? We're not in the condition its whole story is based on. Yeah? So I'm anxious when I'm in, I'm in my room, the doors are locked, there's not a marauding army outside, yet I'm feeling incredibly freaking uncomfortable. Why is that? Here you go, faith. Yeah? There's faith in the thoughts about yesterday and tomorrow. What? Yeah, obviously. How do I know? Well, you judge the tree by its fruits. If you're super flipping out right now and there's no apparent threat, something produced it. Yeah. It couldn't have been next week, because there isn't next week. Is there? No, not yet. We're not arrived there yet. So then what the hell is producing this effect right now? It's not happening now. It's said that it could happen next week. It's happening in the thoughts, yeah? And not just in the thoughts, the faith in the thoughts. Faith in the thoughts. Yeah? The force that manifests. Yeah? So, what was that but a sort of faith? Yes, we have been faithful, abjectly, which is an incredible word, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. Yes, that is the God that we need to have quit playing God. We've got to stop identifying as that God that's playing God. Yes? We can't stop it. It's not us. It's using our facility to do its thing, and it's not taking any calls from us. We plead, we pray, we say, don't fucking do it today. Don't let me use. I'm going to my friend's wedding. I swore I wouldn't get loaded. And we're all powerless, yeah? Because the faith isn't on our side. It's on the finite self side. And so it overrides us every day, yeah? Who wants to admit defeat? Yeah. So, yes, we have been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So this is his conclusion. So in one way or another, yeah, we discovered. You can discover through a download. You can hear someone share at a meeting. You can read the book. You can come to a Zoom like this. But in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been involved all the time. It's not talking about a faith. So Catholicism has not been involved my whole life. I was introduced to it when I was 6 years old or something. Yeah, 7 years old. So you can't say it was a faith that's been involved my whole life, but faith has been involved my whole life. Yes? Faith. So, all right, so there's a force of faith. But how is faith going to manifest? It's going to manifest through the vehicle it's put in. Yeah? So if the vehicle is a life run on self-centeredness, and there's great faith in there, yeah, it's going to end up being quite unsuccessful. That same faith in the higher power would produce an ease and comfort in you right now. That same faith in the thought system will produce anxiety from tomorrow now. It's the same faith, isn't it? It's the same force, but if you direct the force one way, it will move an impediment. If you direct the force another way, you'll get run over by a fucking car. Yeah? The force is there. There's going to be an effect, but what's important is what's directing the force or what's directing the faith. So perhaps there's a better way. Instead of having faith in finite self, we have faith in the infinite. That's the way. Yeah? The faith, we can't move the faith because that would be faith in the finite. Yeah? We found that out to be true. We found out self can't get out of self, hopefully. All these things have been cleared up. So now there's a surrender to the program, and the program will move that faith from the failed system into the gravitational pull of the working system. Yeah? And you can tell by the descriptions of the effects. In the beginning, you do some stuff and then things happen. As you get caught up in the gravitational pull of the infinite, without any thought or effort, you're fucking sober. Yeah? You're not fighting it, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. It seems as if you've been placed in a position of neutrality. That sounds like your role has been severely it's been diminished, yeah? And the faith is just pulling and pulling, yeah? And at that point, the problem will not exist for you anymore. Hallelujah. And that's rooted in the problem does not exist as you anymore. Yeah? Now the faith is moving, it's going towards the infinite, yeah? It still gets radio broadcasts from the finite self, but the broadcasts don't have the ability to compel an action, so you keep on that little interstellar journey to nowhere right now, being available at all times with no requirement necessary. Yeah? Yeah. I really feel it to my bones. This is what's happening. I feel everything that has happened here and how I saw it was compelled by faith. Yeah. Maybe through trauma, I became extremely faithful to the head. I don't know, but I became abjectly faithful for what was playing in my head since I was about really heavily at 9 years old when people in my life died. I was only listening to that. Seriously. I didn't listen to anyone over 17, 16 years old. And I barely didn't listen to them unless my brother could kick my ass, which he could. So basically, I was just listening to this all day. I mean, and I was an incredible example of faith. Pointed in the wrong direction, so to speak. I had such faith, I attracted people in uniform from miles around. All I got to do is have a little hit of the elixir of alcohol, and like a dog whistle went out, and you can, like a dog when it hears another bark, all these people just, the police were, I told you that. I told you when I walked into that department store, when I was 12 or something, and then I was walking around and I decided I was going to put on a pair of pants and put on my pants over it. Yeah? And then I got stopped on the way out, and I got detained. They brought me up to the office, calling the police and then my mother and stuff. And I heard the guy, and They started surveilling me as soon as I walked into the store. It said, person walked into the store, 212, 213, surveillance happened. I hadn't even thought of stealing the pants at that point. That's faith. The faith was pulsating. I had such faith. I didn't get run over once in one night. I got run over twice by the same car. Very few people can pull that off. That's a whole lot of faith. That is so powerful. You've got to have the right direction, or you're going to have a crazy life. Thank God I didn't die before I was done, and I've had a new life. Now that faith that's of us is being well directed. Yeah? And producing a win-win instead of fucking terrible losses all the time. But how else can you explain it? Yeah? I think he explains it beautifully. I don't see how... I'm just going to read it again, because this is like a diagnosis. Without knowing it, all right? Had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith. For did we not believe in our own reasoning? Yeah? Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? What was that but a sort of faith? Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. So in one way or another, we discovered that faith had been and is involved all the time. I wouldn't just keep it in a past statement. It's a fact now. Yeah? And really, our experience right now is the benefit of faith in the right direction, so to speak. Seriously, yeah? And see, that's where you see a lot of the commonality and all the coincidences of a way of life of recovery. A lot of people in AA have tons of coincidences. It's just not you or me. It's a lot of us. These are examples of when faith, poorly directed, is now well directed. Yeah? You start seeing the divine choreography which you were dancing through without knowing it in the past. Yeah? And you were really basically, in a way, dancing against the current. Now you're waltzing with the current. Yeah? And basically the whole atmosphere is faith, really. Now Paul may think he has a faith, but that's a whole different story. Yeah? Faith is a force of mind. Yeah? And if mind is giving everything all the meaning it has, and where an example of a meaning that it's given, yeah, I would see I'm not really at the controls of faith, yes? I'm at the effect of faith. And it would be nice to know that, yeah? So that the good, orderly direction continue, which is faith well directed in a sense. Yeah? Yeah. So in a way, I would explain everyone's experience as the effects of faith in our life, or as our life. Yeah? I wish I could communicate the feeling I have around the word faith, but I just gave it my best shot, so to speak. Yeah? I don't see it as a thing. Just like you don't see gravity, you feel gravity. And even with feeling gravity, we don't name it correctly. We think it was the hill or the stairs, yeah? So without knowing it, we're under the influence of gravity all day. Well, without knowing it, we're the expression or the effect of faith all day. Now, they may have not figured out faith in like the four powers, gravity and whatever, dark matter, whatever they have. But faith, nonetheless, is, I would say, the supreme force in manifestation. Really.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my humble opinion for today.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Well, I could just talk for 20 minutes now, but let's get to Rebecca's question. Come on in, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Rebecca. I'm an alcoholic. Thank you for that. It was awesome. I have a question. Just sorry, I'm out of breath. I just ran down the stairs. You said you were talking about where self-reliance failed us, and that it's fear. And I kind of got something there, and it was gone in a second.
It's fear. It's the self-reliance is the cause of the fear.
Right. Okay. That was really it.
So
That was
it's faith that produces the fear. It's not fear. Fear is an effect. Fear
right.
is an effect of faith.
Faith in self, in the
Faith in the head, faith in your perception of what's happening, faith in a lot of things, yes.
okay. That was
Faith
it.
that you're going to be fucked. No matter who you meet in your life, you think you're going to be fucked by all of them. Yeah. You can never read when another person is different, you see them in the same light. That's faith. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, we're destined just to do the same old, same old.
Yeah.
There's faith in self reliance, and that faith in self reliance has failed us. Yeah. Yet we're
Yeah.
still holding up the system without knowing it. So we have to just make do with an unfucking working system.
Right. For
Yeah.
years.
Well, we don't need to now.
Yeah.
Any system that its main thrust is excuses, blame, yeah, and
Yep.
rationalization is a failed system trying to cover up its tracks. It doesn't produce the goods.
Right.
It produces goods, but they're not really good in a way.
Right.
For
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
but we'll fight to the death to be right about it.
Yep.
It's insane, really. I have never seen more pride than in drug addicts. You could not believe the pride in intravenous cocaine users. For the people who didn't tweak out after 6 days, there was a whole hierarchy of pride. So there's pride in everything. The self pride is amazing. In the smallest little ponds, there'll be a bloated fish.
Yeah. Yeah. And that leads to worshiping the God of reason.
Yes, and how does that look? It's having faith in the thoughts,
Yeah.
really. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the thoughts are informing me, and mostly they're informing me of false evidence, really. And they're relying on that I'm based on false evidence. I'm in the identification as self, so I can't see true from false. So it keeps presenting something that it presents as truth, but is false. Yeah, fuck. It's like the blind leading the blind. I mean, aren't we the ones who came up with the idea of insanity, that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results? Yeah, well, there you go. I use the example just of a very one little example out of millions of them when I was out there, which was I had going to jail and going to court sort of together. Yeah. Usually when I went to court, I usually went to jail. Yeah. Or jail, I went to court. So I had a court date and I was afraid. Yeah. I didn't want to go to jail. And I figure if I go to that court, I may end up in jail. I don't want to go to jail. So I went to the Greek oracle up there and I asked old wise one, what should I do? And it told me, don't go to the court date. And there went the fear. Oh, far out. It worked. If I don't go to court, I won't go to jail. Hey, it succeeded. Yeah. Then 2 weeks later, the court date arrived. And I was sitting there loaded probably, and I'm thinking about all those jamokes in the courtroom. Oh, fucking, I've succeeded once again. And then a day later, I got pulled over with my girlfriend's car because there was a broken taillight. The cops come, and if you hear this, you're going to jail. Mr. Hedderman, will you please step out of the car? Because they had looked at my contemporary resume, and I had a bench warrant. That bench warrant came from me not going to court. So what happens is I'm now in jail, and I have 2 court dates. So I started with the problem, I have a court date. My solution produced going to jail and 2 more court dates. This is what happened year after fucking year. I mean, Jesus. That's called reliance on self. I mean, don't you have... We must feel I lost you, Rebecca. I can't find you.
Yeah.
But don't we have the intimacy of what the book is saying? I mean, we must all have it. When they make a statement in a book, it just like sets off a cacophony of echoing of, yeah, that's exactly what I did hundreds of times. Yeah. Thank God it wasn't I doing it, but that's exactly what happened hundreds of times. I made a decision based on self that put me in a position to be hurt. Yeah. And I didn't feel I deserved it. So I started getting resentful. And then it went on and on and on. It just goes on and on. So that whole statement, without knowing it, would go differently with knowing it. It would. Yeah, it wouldn't go where it went. It's predicated on without knowing it. That's the requirement. So if we get some understanding, maybe you'll see what you would never, when you saw it, you'd call it you. Maybe you'll see it from now on. Yeah. And then with that power offered over to that higher power may turn it into something else than a court date or going to jail or fucking saying to your partner, I hate you or something. Yeah. Yeah. I have faith in it, man. You cannot believe the depravity of my life. And my whole job was not knowing it. My whole job was denial because it was nasty. And day in and day out, that muscle of denial was flexed like Arnie Schwarzenegger's, man. I had a lot of work to do to keep out the fucking facts. Yeah? And then it all collapsed on me all at once, thank God. There was no escape. And, I was caught on tape on the bottom, and all was revealed. I was fucked. Yeah. And thank God that requirement that I was so needing that always escaped me finally was put in me, which was being convinced. Yeah. It just, in the innermost, I got tattooed with the message that I am powerless over this shit and that I'm not managerial quality. I mean an ink tattoo. No washing it off, nothing. Thank God, really. Because from then on, it's sort of like, this is a weird example, but when I was out there using, there was 2 lines I never crossed, ever. Never even thought about. And that was getting married and having a kid. I don't know why, but they were never even got close to it. That's sort of what it's like now concerning alcoholism, drinking and shit. Yeah. They're like completely foreign to me. Maybe they come back, but at this point, the problem doesn't exist for me on a daily basis. Fucking hallelujah. Yeah. Hallelujah. Jesus Christ. Because, the condition I'm in now is based on being sober. This condition wouldn't last if I was drunk. It wouldn't. It would go back to the same old probably. I've seen better recovered people than me go under. Like a lot. Yeah? After 20 years and shit like that. Because their condition isn't going to go into the battle, yeah, when they're loaded. They're losing that condition, yeah? They're going to suddenly be outmatched because they always are outmatched. They've just been in a grace condition that allows a lot of flourishing in that. Drinking and using, you're outmatched and you're in a wrestling match. And it's not going to, it enjoys pinning you. You're not going to be able to say no mas. It's going to fucking put you in a headlock. The fucking like, they jump off the ropes and squish you. You're going to just get battered. And then you got to go out for round two. And, and the thing's enjoying it. It's not going to end the fight. So this condition is meant to be honored. It doesn't need to be tested. Oh, I'm going to get drunk and see if I have the same immunity. No. That's why people say, don't you think you could drink, Paul? I say, probably could, but thank God I could care less. Yeah. But come on, isn't it time? You know, you could probably get loaded or something. Who cares? I don't want it. I don't care. There's no desire. I don't see any interest in it. That's what I love about abstinence. Abstinence is fortified by joy. It's not vigilance or I really wish I... No, you're happy as hell. That topic that was rather all-consuming has no play anymore. It's fucking mind-boggling. How much, it's like a free-range alcoholic. It's awesome. Yeah. Jesus Christ. If there was a trade, I wouldn't trade this for fucking anything. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. It has the most value of anything I ever met in this life. So, yeah. Honoring it doesn't mean you look stoic. It means you're honoring it, When joy is there, you're joyous, yeah? When you need to be serious, you're serious. When you're listening to a dramatic rendition of Paul, you laugh. Because now you've seen the comedy of it all. Yeah. How is the old attitude and outlook going to forecast how it's going to be to have a new attitude and a new outlook? It can't. It's impossible. It can't. Its imagining is so saddled with a myopic view. It can't imagine. We just read that on Anne. Yeah. Whatever you thought you were planning for you is totally overwhelmed by what actually happens. Yeah. Where was it? Yeah, when we look back, we realize that the things which came to us when we put ourselves in God's hands were better than anything we could have planned. Exactly. Yeah. And that's a present tense observation. It's not a reflection on the past. I'm saying, yeah, right now, I realize that the things that are coming to us, yeah, are because I'm in God's hands, basically. Just a present tense rendition of it. All right. And anyone else?
We had one other hand up and it seems to have gone down, Paul. Well, there's Kristen. Come on, Kristen. You have a question?
Yeah. Hi, Ann.
Hi.
Hi, Paul. I took my hand down just because I take care of my father and I'm not sure what's going to happen here. But anyway, I just had a quick question, Paul. So when you say I'm the slave master and the slave, that's the same as the thief and the cop. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, because that sort of rang.
You're not in a way, but yes.
Yes, but I mean, that rang a clearer bell for me to be able to see that at the same time, rather than the thief and the cop. I get that at a deeper level.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times you don't see both of them. You see the thief, and then the cop shows up, and then the cop leaves, and the thief shows up.
Right.
But they're both aspects of
Yeah.
selfing.
Yeah.
But we're used to being identified with one and less identified with the other, and it goes back and forth. But it's both. It's self can't get out of self.
Yeah. Exactly. So, when you said we're an incredible example of faith, belief in the thoughts, but it's belief in the thoughts of a so-called Christian, not there. Yeah, it's
Well, they're
not
not Kristen's thoughts. There's thoughts that are used to imply that Kristen's the what's being thought about or is the thinker. But no, there's no Kristen's thoughts. No.
right. Okay. All right. Good. Well, that clarified that.
It's just let's say you have files, right? Let's say we're made up of files. Let's say they're musical files, all right?
Okay.
An example. And then a note's played, a thought comes up. It triggers a retrieval of similar notes from the music files. So it's not the first thought that we really think is ours. It's what's thought about after that seems like it's ours. Yeah? But that's from the filing system. So it hears that there's a hearing of a note, it's claimed, and then it goes through the files, and then a string of thoughts come up. Yeah? And those are the ones that have the hook mostly in the identification. Yeah? You say, oh, yes, the first one isn't mine, but the other, they say it in AA, right? The first thought isn't yours, but then the second thought is. I don't believe that. I don't believe any of the thoughts are ours. Yeah. That's not my experience. So. But the way it feels so uniquely about Paul isn't the first thought, it's what triggers the files that get triggered. Yeah? Yeah. That's like the spider web of selfing. Yeah. Is that. Yeah. Because others respond, there's other files react to the one thought differently. So, yes? Someone has this, we all seem to have a lot of the same thoughts in English, let's say, but the files that get triggered by the note of that thought are different. Yeah? This is what gives us a sense of personalness and shit. But it's manufactured, I feel. Yeah? Yeah. The clone thinks it's a person. Even when it realizes it's a clone, it realizes it as a person. The programming doesn't get null and voided by it being exposed. It just keeps programming. What happens for me, it was a loss of interest in the programming because the whole system is centered on self. So if self gets questioned, the the uh, the the desirability of that fixation gets weakened. Yeah, because it's rooted in the identity, the ownership, the feeling of Paul. Yeah, yeah. In Buddhism, they would call it cherishing of self. Yeah. So the thoughts that are about a self are cherished when it's myself. Yeah, yeah. I don't cherish, let's say, Kristen's thoughts. But I may be cherishing the same thoughts held as Paul's. Yeah, yeah. So it's people get confused. So the thought happens, and then they have very personal thoughts that wouldn't fit everyone else. Yeah, because it goes into programmable files. It's just like when you see on the computer now algorithms. Yeah, they follow what you maybe have a little interest in, and then they start feeding. Yeah, you topics that will incite that interest. The same in a way. If you look at it as a program, yeah. But the first trigger creates the reaction. It creates the whack, yeah. So the first thought triggers the idea of being the thinker, and then the file system comes up, and then there's a trail of thoughts that are pertinent to the individual thinker, yeah. Yeah. So it's almost as if there was like a Pulp Fiction of novel, but they have it, they put a sense of noun everywhere, so everyone reads it thinking it's about them. But it's really, it's a stock version. Yeah. What's important for us really on one level is to keep, thoughts are not manifesting. Yeah, you're not seeing them. Yeah, but they can compel a manifestation. So really the first line that we love to have drawn in the life of a recovered addict is that it doesn't manifest. Yeah, the thoughts stay in the thought realm, the feelings stay in the feeling realm, and they don't make a big splash in the thing realm. Yeah, because that's where you're stepping on fly paper, and then every move gets you more glued onto the fly paper. So if you don't say that stupid thing, you don't have to send 800 different texts of, yeah. So the first, I feel, great relief is that the shits are staying in their own realms, like thoughts and feelings. They're not spilling over to the tattoo parlor, so to speak. You know what I mean? I'd like to kill her, and then you get a tattoo. I'd like to kill her. No. Yeah. Yeah. So I think many people coming into recovery, that would be like the first sandy shore they arrive at. The thoughts are staying sort of in the head. They're not spilling out as much, and they're not compelling action. So they really want to get fucked up, but they're not getting fucked up. That's great. Yeah. That's the beginning of a lot of new effects of recovery. That's the beginning. Yes. Yeah. So I'm not doing shit that would end me up in jail. Yeah. I may be thinking shit that would end me up in jail, but I don't go to jail because I'm not doing shit that used to end me up in jail. That's a huge progress in a certain life, don't you think? Yeah, yeah. That's nice when that becomes the basis, then you can get into a lot of different states. Yeah, yeah. You can, instead of going, so now the thoughts aren't compelling all these actions, now you're going behind the thoughts or before the thoughts, yeah? By the experience of pauses, yeah? The pause is producing an effect that is not after thoughts. It's before thoughts, isn't it? The pause isn't heralded by a thought. It isn't. It precedes the thought. Bang, yeah? So now you're in a whole different, what's affecting you is less and less what's happening outside. It's more and more what's before everything happening. That's awesome, man. Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Because now there's a power matched with a habit, so now you're in the habit of being sober. There's a lot of power there. Yeah, a lot of power, a lot of juice in sobriety. Whole lot of juice. Yeah. And if that juice just keeps getting invested in the juice, yeah, you have the eyes to see a lot of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you know how you would do something. I did one, I got arrested a lot, and that getting arrested a lot when I was young ended up, I had a 3-year probation program. 3 years I had to see authorities, every week. 3 years, from 17 to 20. Had to get my urine tested. A lot of shit happened. They could visit my house without a notice, yeah? They could just drop in. Sometimes I'd come home loaded, and there was the probation officer talking to my mother in the living room. So it was late in the day, so I wouldn't turn on the lights so he couldn't see my eyes, and I just fucking act, I made it through these little events. But all of that shit came from getting loaded, Yeah, 3 years. Some people are up the rest of their life in prison, and they can't even remember what they did. They were in a blackout and they killed somebody. Yeah, but now the rest of their life is predicated on something they can't even remember.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling. So mind's really powerful, and it's better left being directed by something greater than the mental state. That's for sure. Yes. So yeah. All right, honey. I don't know if I answered anything, but we just went off on a tangent. But
I think that was good, Paul. We don't have any other hands, but what kept coming to me, in everything you said today is thought mind, and that it's just an illusion that just completely disappears without our intention, without our involvement, right? That it's
well,
just
the thoughts won't disappear, but them compelling actions will
right, right,
definitely disappear. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
See, you can think about being screwed, but being screwed is a different ball game. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, we now have the luxury to bitch about, feeling agitated. But hey, how about feeling agitated and have a 4-year sentence? That's a different fish. That's
and you
being
don't know why. Yeah.
yeah. So uh, we've got a lot to be thankful for, I
Oh, yeah.
feel, and I always like to be reminded of it because uh, there's after you get out of the thick as mud bullshit, you can get into fine bullshit. Still finding it's not enough on the celestial realm or something. It's just crazy to have. I just like to remind myself about what's affording me to be on this Zoom is based on an action that actually happened from a higher power 33 years ago, getting struck sober. So, yeah, actions have force here.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, they do.
I mean, I was so fucking surprised when I woke up in the hospital after I got run over by that car. I could not fucking believe it. I was bitching about things as if they were the end of the world, and then they seemed so fucking trivial when I was laid up in a bed for 10 months. I mean, it was mind-boggling. See, and it doesn't matter the size. People are as anxious about buying their fourth house as the person looking for the refrigerator box to sleep in. It has nothing to do. The mental reaction isn't appropriate to the circumstance. Yeah? It makes up mountains out of molehills. It does. It's just unbelievable. Yeah? The person is just as flipped out, thinking should they or should they not buy their fourth house, as the person looking for the refrigerator box. There's really no difference based on their condition. Even though the circumstances, you would think there would have been a different appropriate response. Yeah? But it's the mental state. It's making shit out of nothing all day. So, I mean, why would it stop at size and degrees? It can make shit out of nothing. Let's make it huge. Yeah. Let's forget a miracle in 5 minutes and remember a seeming slight for 50 years. You know what I mean? It's like, it's in its little area, it's like Play-Doh. It can make anything up. It makes huge fucking things, twisting it and shit. Yeah. You have to admit, given given your ear to the mental state, it can produce exquisite suffering. When there's faith in the thought system, the thought system can really hit the notes, you know. I swear, I've been under it. Yeah. Thank God I'm not. But I was strapped to that seat when it was doing its little orchestral maneuvers. Being up 10 days on cocaine. It was like fucking vivid hellness. Yeah. So, you don't want to give it that much material, really. You know, you just don't. I mean, you don't want to, it already, you know, you don't want to shut the door on the past nor regret it, yeah. But you definitely don't want it to be where you're living from. So, yes, I'm really happy that we're all in a certain condition that we can sit here on this Zoom. That's amazing, yeah, in my view. Yeah. Can you imagine doing a Zoom and you're an extreme coke addict and then you start thinking there's coke on the floor? I'd be leaving the Zoom, crawling around the room. Get up, donate, go down. I mean, it would be insane. Don't think any condition is original and all long lasting except for the only condition, yeah? Our inherent condition. All other conditions are manufactured and can be revised and edited in the future. So if you're thinking you're a great spiritual warrior, you may be sorely mistaken in a few years. Yeah? Yeah. Rely on what's reliable. Yeah, that works. Trust the infinite. All right, so that's over, Ann?
No, now we got a couple hands. How you doing on time, Paul?
I'm all right, I think, yeah.
Yeah, you want to take a break before we go on? All
No,
right,
no.
cool. Come on in, Carl, with your question for Paul.
Hi, Paul. Yeah, I thought I'd come on and say hi and thank you very much. I've really enjoyed these talks. I found them very, very helpful, very clarifying. And yeah, I was just thinking, I've kind of just a bit of kind of around. It's kind of in around fate, I suppose. Kind of, you know, and just trusting the journey, you know. You know, yeah, I love your story. You know, mine was kind of similar. You know, there's a lot of similarities. I suppose we're all the same. You know, but it really felt like you know, I was kind of you know, struck sober, struck clean. You know, it really felt like that. It's just, you know, I was gone along in my life. You know. And you know, completely lost, completely identified with the thought system, you know, and you know, in that place that you described, and you know, that you describe here every week, you know, and you know, suddenly you know, I found myself washed up, like you say, but it was in the shores of NA, you know. You know, so it was from a life of chronic heroin addiction and methadone addiction, cocaine, intravenous cocaine addiction, the whole lot, you know. And it was just a, you know, anyway, I won't, you know, go on, you know, too much about that. But you know, it was like when I came into the fellowship, into NA, it was like, you know, I really felt part of that, you know, that, you know, really involved and very enthusiastic, very, you know, got involved. And, you know, the years have gone on, and, you know, I've, you know, found a Buddhist path, actually, and I kind of stumbled across this realization, you know, of no self-realization, you know, and it was very liberating. And, you know, I've tried to kind of, bring it back into the fellowship a bit, and and it doesn't really go down very well. So I kind of just, kind of, I just, stopped and just kind of, it's like when in Rome, do as the Romans kind of thing, and the years have gone on, and come across yourself and the message, and I've never really kind of, I've gone to AA meetings, especially in the early days, but I never really felt kind of like, maybe it's different maybe in Ireland, there's a lot of the old drinkers and kind of, they kind of, a bit of that kind of snobbery around addicts and stuff like that, so, I've kind of stayed in, but I love I love your message, and, so it's kind of, it's just, I've reached a point, I suppose, I'm 18 years clean now, so it's kind of like, it's it's a while, and I'm going to the meetings, the Zooms, and, and showing up, have me a few meetings a week and stuff like that. And, and, people, I've, sponsor a few people, and, somebody asked me to sponsor them there recently. And, it's trying to, the whole literature thing with the way the steps, are framed as well in my fellowship is kind of, it's a bit different, so there's more emphasis kind of, it's a bit kind of more kind of, it's just a different, there's a different language, so it's hard to kind of communicate, what you're getting at, to others. And, so I was kind of, I was curious, if you had some kind of advice around, around that, and also kind of, just, I'm kind of, my sponsor is, he's quite sick at the moment, and he's been a great help to me, but, I'm kind of wondering, where do I go in recovery? And there's a bit of a crisis of faith, like, like what's the next thing, do I, or, so anyway, I just thought I mainly just wanted to come on and, thank you very much, and, and just connect in, and just, I was curious of your thoughts on any of that stuff,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Carl. I'm happy I see you every week here. Really what you are will speak louder than what you say. And like, remember in the big book, they talk about with this new idea of a higher power, you'll probably make a lot of mistakes. So, and then you learn from them. So I don't speak, something gets through, but it's not in a certain package. Yes. The package is like a plain brown paper bag package. So you get caught up in the ribbon and shit, but the message is in there. Yeah. And I don't, if someone's new and they're in the condition of they're in a lot of houses that are always on fire, they just need a pail of water. Yeah. And they need to get to a point where the fires don't dominate so much, and then you can sit around with them and ask, it's funny, you're at a lot of fires, maybe there's a connection. So I don't have a rigid idea of what I share. This platform allows me to share, yeah, completely, but in other venues I don't share. I just go along with what's happening. Yeah, because there's a lot of power in just holding space also. Yeah. So you just learn as you go. A lot of people, they're very rarely excited as much as you are about a message. So, and I've gone through it all. But luckily for me and my community, I had a lot of credibility because I did a lot of service. I led like thousands of fourth step inventory seminars and shit. Yeah. So when I started to seemingly go off the reservation, uh, I wasn't driven out of the community, so to speak. Yeah. So, but now I'm neutered by caricature. So I'm called non-self Paul, Buddha Paul, fourth step Paul. I'm called a lot of things so they don't have to hear the message really. But hey, it's all right. I hope that helped, Carl. Just and you know, we have an after meeting here, and there's people, and there's I would think I would feel pretty trusted in their hands concerning sponsorship. Some of the characters here, so you may be able to find someone to talk with, and right after the meeting. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I've been through the steps a few times, you know, so
Yeah, just someone to connect with and stuff. Because a lot of what the community is just a feeling of connection. It doesn't mean, you know, the action figure yearns for connection coming out of a basis of separation. Yeah. Like we're feeling like a long lasting, independent, separate thing. And that doesn't work for a lot of us. So we need to feel connected in some way. And the AA's always provided that for me. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I didn't give it a name, and then I called it belonging. But I just felt much better going to meetings and having a community. Yeah. And after a few months, I said, "Oh, this must be how you feel when you belong." So it was great. So yeah, it's like it's for many action figures, it's an essential ingredient for a healthy diet. You need a sense of community, or at least, you know, a seat. Yeah. So, all right, bro. I'll see you, Carl.
thanks very much, Paul.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, that's it, Paul. But before you say your goodbyes today, I just want to remind everybody that the time changes in much of the US and Canada early Sunday morning here.
Oh, all right.
So the UK will be an hour earlier for the next 2 weeks. This applies to this meeting, well, to all your meetings, but all of Paul's meetings and his special workshop. The website has been updated, but just please be aware if you're not in the States that you need to log on an hour earlier, or in Australia until April 4th, you'll need to make your own time changes. I don't trust my own.
All right. Hey, Ann, I want to ask too, if the groups, the people that come here, are they all right with the time we're doing it, or would some other time work better, and see if we have a majority? I know I want to put it out to non-duality meeting, but I think these work well, but just in case.
All right,
When,
how
in other words,
about
we don't have to have it the times we have it. It could be changed.
okay, how about we create a poll and we can run that on Saturday during the meeting and then on Tuesday?
But also knowing it, it's not a democracy. I'm going to override the poll.
Of
but-
course. So why don't
But
you just tell us?
let it look like democracy. No, I'm serious. I think the non-duality. I think the 1:30 on Saturday could be changed. Maybe make it a little earlier.
Okay.
You know, but the 7 works on Wednesday. But again, we miss out a lot of people from Europe and stuff, and Australia. Australia can come, but other places. But yeah, I think we could have a review of the times if we're going to continue the Zooms and just.
Okay. We'll discuss it with the host group, and then I think just a simple poll on live on Zoom will give us a good idea of where everybody is.
Yeah, and don't vote 20 times, just once.
No, you can only do it once. We
I don't trust Paul and Rob Farr from
yeah.
the UK. They look like they stuffed the ballot box. Yeah.
I don't know about Lebowski.
We need to have some ballot election security.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, just in case, I don't mind if it stays the same, but if if it would work better, I could do it earlier, or I could do it. I don't want to do it too much later, but earlier, yeah. All right.
So
But
earlier for Tuesday, Thursday?
Yeah, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Wednesdays. But Tuesday, Thursdays are fine with me. But yeah,
Okay, so that's just non-duality. Okay.
I just want to hear what people thinking, because we're here to serve. Really, it's not so much. Yeah, you know.
Got it.
Of course, we're here to serve with consideration, but this, yeah, we're here to serve. All right, Ann. Thank you for all the service, and Mike, as always. Mike, are you coming over now? Get in your car and come on over then. Yeah, I got plans for later, hopefully. All right, Walter. Nice to see you, Walter. As always, Paul, Mike O, Rob, Carl, Chris. Oh, hey, it's great to see you, Chris, from Portland. I have a history with Chris on both coasts now, East Coast and West Coast. Let's see. We got Roman. Always a pleasure to see you, Roman. Yeah. Vicky. Always a pleasure. Vicky's out, man. She's out in the light. Yeah. She's thriving. All right. We got Kristen. Nice to see you as always. Helen. Yes. You're in great hands, Helen. Verena. I know she's in Germany now. I'm not. Yes. There you go. Thank you. Jeremy. Pleasure to see you, Jeremy, from the day one. Andy. We got Ruby Rose from Kansas. She's in one of our distant outposts. We got to send you some more juice there, Kansas, Wichita especially. All right, Kurt Zimmerman with his lovely. Hey, there's the
Miss Linda.
the couple of the year in non-duality, and there they are. Miss Nothing and Mr. Nothing. All right, honey. Good. Have a great. All right. My something just left. I got to. Stefan, on having never left. Yes, always. Fantastic. Kerry, yes, always. We got Anna R. Always to see you. Chris, Michael, Stacy. Thank you for that lovely hat, Michael. Mickey. Nina. Yes, Nina. Thank you for your share yesterday, I think, whenever it was. Tuesday, I don't know when. You're all just one big Zoom now. Justin. Justin, nice to see you, Justin. Okay. We got Taz from a little town near Sassafras called Melbourne. We got Bev. Bev is now out of the car, and she's in I like that thing behind you on the wall. Raven from British Columbia. Always a pleasure, Raven. We got, again, Kurt. We got James Lebowski. He's coming in and out all the time now. Yes. Rebecca, Carl, iPhone, Maggie, Rick Rowe from Toronto, BC, another BC. Oh, there she is. I haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you. She's got a nice little dog. Andy G. Yeah, everyone, thank you so much for this opportunity. All right. See you, bro. See you, Mike, soon.